From a locked-up elf to dancing elves, these 20 elf on the shelf caught moving on camera clips will shock you. Like this video and subscribe in the next 5 seconds, or this spider will be crawling around your bed while you sleep tonight. Elf's magic. This clip captures one elf who was wearing green clothes, turning his fellow elf into a pile of candy cane dust. The owner of these elves was shocked to discover what looks to be a crime scene, and we can only hope that the other elf will return to normal instead of remaining just a pile of crushed candy canes. Who knew that elves can use such dangerous magic? Just imagine if your elf would decide to cast this spell on you and turn you into candy cane dust. If you thought your cookies were safe in the cookie jar, you might need to rethink your belief after watching this clip. So basically, a kid woke up to see their elf on the shelf sitting next to several cookies that it had taken out of the cookie jar in the kitchen. The elf had even eaten some, as the crumbs indicate. Luckily, the elf left some for the kids to share because, as you all know, elves are generous creatures. Locked up elf. Now we have a clip showing a baby elf riding around in a tiny toy car when the elf discovers one of her fellow elves locked inside a vault cage. The owner is shocked to see one of her cutest elves being locked and starts looking for the culprit, but none of the elves confess. So maybe it was an evil elf on the shelf that locked up the elf inside the cage? Let's check this clip out. Elf treasure. This clip shows two elves bringing a magical gift to their owner. The owner opens up this little treasure chest and discovers golden glitter inside, but after digging through it, she finds a magical key. We don't know what this key can unlock yet. Maybe it's a key to the magical doors leading to the North Pole. If that's the case, this present is a spectacular one, and the owners of these elves should be very happy to receive it. Prankster elves. This clip was recorded by a girl who was playing with her elf on the shelf in the pantry when she noticed that another elf, this one wearing black clothes, is trying to squeeze under the doors. As she picks up the elf, she notices that it doesn't have any legs, and then the other two elves can be seen waving to the girl from the other side of the doors. According to the girl, those two elves actually locked her inside the pantry, and she had to wait for hours until her mother came back from work to unlock the doors. Who knew that elves could pull such evil pranks on their owners? Elf with magical powers. This clip shows an elf who used his magical abilities to sneak into the kitchen to get his favorite treat. If you didn't know, every elf on the shelf has a huge sweet tooth, so their diet is just cinnamon, rock sweets, and obviously Skittles. As you'll see, this elf had the power to lift this massive box to the top shelf and grab some candy, so keep on watching. Elf on an airplane. This clip shows another example of elves that like to fly using technology instead of magic. These kids were on a mission to catch their elf on the shelf as part of their Christmas celebration. They were hoping to meet the elf at the Christmas tree and see it with their own eyes, but it had other plans: stay around, as 2 hours later, the elf made a grand descent flying a candy-filled toy airplane, which is nothing surprising considering elves love sweets. Elves caught dancing. Who knew that elves like to dance? Not just dance, but at such a pace as these elves. If you can, try moving your legs as quickly as these cute elves, and you'll see how difficult it actually is. Vlogging elf. Now this elf probably wants to be a YouTube vlogger instead of working for Santa, because this clip is seemingly recorded by the elf himself by carrying a camera that was left next to it. The elf probably understood that his owner wants to capture it moving, so the elf decided to make him a favor and record his entire walk throughout the house. Two cheeky elves. Now we have two cheeky elves. These elves are just so incredible and were recorded by a camera being absolutely adorable. One of them appears to be super shy, but sometimes smiles a bit, and then you can see the other one in the back start moving. Elves on the shelf are truly wonderful creatures, so remember to behave well, and not just with your elves, but also with your friends, family, and even strangers. Elf on the shelf flying and jumping. Now we have a clip that captured this spontaneous moment when this dad got their elf on the shelf moving in the middle of the night. Right before this footage, he was told by the kids that they should put up a CCTV camera to catch the elf, and so here we are. Turns out you should listen to your kids, especially when it comes to magical stuff like you're witnessing in this clip. Elf driving a Lamborghini. This clip shows one of the elves driving a super expensive sports car. Obviously, it's a toy car because no elf on the shelf is large enough to drive a normal car, but it's just crazy to think that they know how to drive, and it shows that elves on the shelf have many different talents. Elf walking around the house. In this clip, we have a really smart elf who noticed that a security camera was recording him at night, so he decided to just pick it up and do a little elf vlog, recording himself walking around the house. This recording was a perfect gift for the family, and the elf must have put so much effort into it because just think about it, a camera is so heavy for the little elf, it must have been really difficult carrying it around the house. Elf and the cat. Now we have a clip of this cheerful and adorable elf that was discovered playing in the house and being watched by the cat. After climbing the stairs, the elf balances itself high on the stair railing before sliding down. The landing probably hurt, so he's going to try again with a pillow. Fortunately, the cat was super patient with this little elf and no harm was done to it. Elf on a shelf gets featured on local news. This clip is a short segment from a TV news report that shows one elf on the shelf doing all sorts of crazy stuff on camera. So you're not supposed to see an elf with your own two eyes because apparently the elves can lose their magical powers if that happens. But if you record them on camera, nothing bad ends up happening to them, so let's keep watching this chaos. Elf caught raising hand. This clip shows an elf on the shelf that was caught sitting calmly on top of the bed before starting to raise its hand. Maybe it had a question to ask. Who knows? Classic elf. The owner of this clip wants us to share the video before the government sees it and decides to ban it because officially, elves on the shelf are just toys and can't come alive. Anyway, it's just another elf on the shelf that's moving while the family is sleeping, and we can agree that while this is nothing new, a moving elf is always amazing to watch, so let's see how this one goes around. Elf caught moving oranges. It's time for some vitamins, and this elf on the shelf knows the right vitamin to pick from. In this clip, an elf on the shelf is seen trying to move the oranges on the table. After much struggle, it gave up and decided to nap by resting on one of the oranges instead. A makeshift pillow out of oranges is something we never thought was possible, but this elf proved us wrong. Very young boy. Now we have a clip of this one kid who decided to capture the elf on the shelf moving inside his home. This is the first time this child has ever owned an elf on the shelf, so he was super excited and really hyped to record it moving. He turned on the camera at midnight and succeeded. The boy captured the elf peeking around the corner to check if the hallway is free to make an escape, and then it uses its magical powers for something crazy at the end of the clip, so make sure to keep on watching. Driving elf. This clip shows an elf on the shelf who got inside a toy BMW i8 coupe and started driving around the patio. The elf is not alone, as there's also a little dog sitting in the passenger seat. Now this is one of the most incredible elf on the shelf clips ever because the elf must know that he's being recorded, but he still chooses to continue driving around and having fun with his new furry friend. Elf on the sink. In this insane clip, the elf on the shelf was caught red-handed carrying itself in the kitchen. The elf takes its time moving between the dishes, turning on the faucet, and it even chills for a brief moment. In the end, it takes up into the air and flies straight to the camera, probably because the elf has noticed that all the bad stuff he has done has been recorded. Elf scares dad. So 2 weeks before Christmas, this dad caught their elf on the shelf just flying in the middle of the video he was recording. Actually, this dad and his family have a verified Elf on the Shelf YouTube channel, and they have captured their elf moving a few times, so it must be a real video and what you're seeing has happened for real. It's about to get even crazier, so make sure you keep on watching till the end. In this clip, the family elf Carol was asked by one of the family members to tell Santa they've been really good that year, but then came something unbelievable. Carol responded with what we think is a yes by moving her eyes in the opposite direction. Now, according to the family, Carol arrived at their home on December 1st, and just 7 days before Christmas, she moved her eyes, causing them to get scared, but no one should be afraid of elves, they're friendly creatures after all. A mysterious elf chose the midnight season to fly around the dining room and get caught on camera in the process. While at first it seemed the elf didn't notice the camera, the way it flew into hiding all of a sudden made us suspicious, so let's check it out. The elf on the shelf during the festive season is a common theme for decor, but it seems this elf in this clip is not up for the festive season, nor does it like its position on the Christmas tree. In the clip, an elf on the shelf, or rather on the Christmas tree, was caught on camera moving from the top of the Christmas tree to another position below. Let's take a look. This is probably one of those elves caught on camera videos that we've been scratching our heads about in confusion. While we're still trying to adjust to elves on the shelf moving, now we have to see them create extra legs from sneakers to walk and run around the house. Confused? Check out this confusing clip for yourself, maybe you'll figure it out. This clip shows footage from a hidden camera, which captured an elf on the shelf flying. You can see one elf standing on top of what seems to be a table and leaning on a glass candle holder, but after a while, the elf suddenly sets off for a quick flight and finally comes down the camera to stare at it. This elf has probably noticed that it has recorded everything, and now he wants to turn it off and delete the footage. This elf on the shelf really loves standing and clinging to Christmas trees, so it's not a surprise that this elf also decides to go for the family's Christmas tree, even if he gets caught by the family surveillance cameras. Let's see how this amazing elf finds his way all the way up. One of the most famous Christmas songs was playing in the background when this little elf was seen dancing. It sure looks like fun. The elf on the shelf is raising its small arms in the air and dancing about the home, but first it checks to see whether anyone's watching. As soon as the song ends, the elf returns to its cozy corner under the warm Christmas tree. After all, that's the favorite resting spot of all elves. This jolly and cute elf was caught playing around the house and just being observed by the cat. After climbing up the stairs, the elf gets high up on the stairs railing, balances itself, and down it goes. The landing probably hurts, so he's going to try again, this time with a pillow. Gets up the stairs and slides down and down over and over. Thankfully, the cat was patient and no elf was harmed. Animals must love elves as much as we do. In this next clip, an elf on the shelf can be seen trying to quietly move out of the house before getting caught on camera. It must have been so shocked because what it did next will surprise you. The elf played so many pranks on this family, and you're in for an adventure. In the first few seconds, the elf starts things off by sliding down the stairs and onto the fire truck toy. Then it drives through the family's living room, and the lights begin to rapidly turn on and off, but that's not the craziest part. The elf goes on to climb up on top of the fireplace and unhooks the family socks. The elf is just so mischievous, but because of that, we have a great clip to show you, so make sure you keep on watching. This family probably has the largest elf on the shelf collection in the world, including over 50 elves. They must be really great owners because if you're a bad person, your elf on the shelf will run away to the North Pole. The fact that this family has over 50 elves proves that they treat their elves well. As you can see, there are many different types of them, from the usual ones clothed in red to more rare elves like blue, pink, yellow, purple, gray, and black. In this clip, we can see two elves that were caught sharing a pumpkin. We all know that elves love sweets, but who knew that they also indulge in pumpkins? Now that's news to us. Elves coming alive and starting to move is already a scary thought, but knowing that they can come and help out with house chores without you knowing even makes it scarier. In this clip, an elf on the shelf is seen flying in the laundry room before flying into a washing machine and then bringing out a sock. What a helper. This clip was caught on a spy camera, and it shows an elf on the shelf who is trying to escape the house. While it should be happy to spend time with company containing other toys and dolls, this elf doesn't think so and decides to sneak around. This guy is on a quest to catch the elf on the shelf moving over the Christmas season. He's tried putting chocolate coins and candy canes in front of the elf to make him move, but it's not going to work. He needs to pay closer attention to the elf, but nothing seems to be changing, so he turns off the lights and installs a night vision camera. Then the elf vanishes, leaving the goodies half empty. What happened to it? Fortunately, a guy put a GPS tracker on the elf to keep track of it, and where do you think the elf on the shelf went? Of course, to the North Pole, and the elf is probably going to tell Santa everything that's happened to him. In this clip, a hidden camera caught an elf on the shelf moving, but not only that, the elf is also seen flying around the house on what seemed to be a magic skateboard before finally finding a place to rest. That's just amazing to see, don't you think? In a twisted turn of events, an elf on the shelf decided to reveal herself and got caught on camera moving, but only on its own terms, moving enough for the camera to capture its movement but also hiding from it. If you think you've seen it all, this clip might convince you haven't seen anything when it comes to elves on the shelf caught on camera. This clip shows an elf wearing a piece of clothing you'll never believe is possible for an elf to wear, so watch closely. If you're interested in learning how to catch your elf pulling pranks on you outside your door, well, you should watch this clip. Here's what happened. An elf was captured on camera ringing the doorbell of one of his family's homes when he was lucky enough to have a security camera placed in front of him. As a result, his little naughty act was exposed and he got captured on camera doing his usual mischievous things that elves like to do. This elf wanted to cut his elf on the shelf open to see what's inside it. You should never hurt your elves like that because they're living creatures, and as you'll see, the elf just disappeared from the table and reappeared on the ceiling, meanwhile shutting off the lights. It's one of the creepiest clips we've ever seen. This little child who wanted to catch an elf on the shelf takes a weird turn because not even the kid can figure out what the elf is doing. This elf captured in this clip is a really strange fellow and his behavior is peculiar to say the least. This clip captured an elf on the shelf who is showing us around the house as if he's a real estate agent. The elf is just restless and is moving around the place seemingly without a purpose and even goes on the balcony to sit behind a chair, but just for a moment before he starts moving again. Let's check it out. This little girl was soundly asleep, probably dreaming of Santa's gifts. The surveillance camera catches a glimpse of an elf peeking at her multiple times. It had multiple attempts to come near her, bouncing all over. The father caught the elf sleeping beside the little kid and thought he saw the elf smile. What a wholesome clip. Now watch this clip and see the most badass elf you've ever seen. He went to get some Fruit Loops in the morning when the rest of the family was still sleeping, and the boy who caught him just got so annoyed by what the elf did. The elf even grabbed the marshmallows on the table, so he must be really missing the sweets from the North Pole. A hidden camera captured an impressive display of magic by an elf on the shelf, and it's nothing short of awesome. Too bad the elf went into hiding afterwards and we can't see more of it. An elf on the shelf was caught on camera moving from one place to another. The elf was caught riding a tiny toy horse and being accompanied by another doll, but it left the other two to climb up a chair and then jump on the table to find a hiding spot. Let's check it out. This clip shows an elf who was caught getting stuck inside a dog feeder. You can see its tiny legs sticking out, and it's super lucky the dog didn't bite them off. Later on, you'll see the entire elf behind the glass, but the craziest part is that it starts talking and explains how it ended up getting stuck there. Let's check it out. It appears this family's suspicions about the elf on the shelf have increased, and they think it's increasingly likely that he's roaming around the house. In order to provide him with a little light, they propped him up in front of the laptop because you know they had to turn all the lights down in order for them to believe that he's sleeping. And scary enough, the elf moved its head in a strange way, which is going to impress you a lot, so let's check it out. This clip shows an elf caught red-handed at the scene of their crime. It's the second day of Thanksgiving, and these elves must be angry about not getting an invite to eat. They ended up breaking into the family fridge and having a feast. We learned from this clip that it's better to just invite your elves to Thanksgiving because they might get their piece of the dinner one way or another. A family chronicled the presence of their elf on the shelf, who usually comes to them and then goes back to the North Pole at the end of the year, hopefully to report good things about them to Santa. It would be a shame if the report made the owners end up on the naughty list. So this family set up some security cameras at the start of December because she knew her children's elves like to roam around the house and do bad things. In this clip, you'll see them captured scouting around the house late at night, but they do something crazy at the end, so keep on watching. This clip is from a family YouTube channel which captured a unique elf. It's unlike all the other moving elves on the shelf because this one is a giant elf. It must be the size of an adult person, and who knew that elves can grow that tall? Unfortunately, this elf was just as angry as it was tall, and it's making a mess around the house, like throwing furniture around. Maybe this elf got fired by Santa and became angry because now he doesn't have a job.